turn that down. Let's see. We've done ifs and we've done Boolean expressions, and now we're going to do if-else statements. So if statements are great, but sometimes you want either one thing or another thing to happen. And if you had separate if statements, there is actually no guarantee that one or the other thing will happen. And it depends on your setup, but an easy way to make sure either one thing or another thing happens, like it's one or the other, not like I wonder if one of these will happen. You do an if else. So it looks like this. If some condition, print that thing, else the other thing. So one or the other of these two things will definitely happen. There's no like, I wonder if a third thing will happen, or I wonder if nothing will happen. And the else doesn't have a condition on it. See how it doesn't have it's just the word else. It's either or, one or the other will execute. I recommend using braces like I did here. See the open and close curly brackets or braces around each block. You don't have to if the blocks are just one line of code, so that's nothing new. One problem with doing something like this is then later you go in and try to add another line and you forget to put braces and then everything's acting all wonky. So I recommend using braces by default. And let's go ahead and try it out now. That's the go. All right, section 3.4. But wait, there's more. Now we have if, else statements. And sometimes you need more than two things you want to trigger on. In this case, you're going to have an if statement for sure, the if with a condition, just like we've been doing, and it can be followed by curly braces or just one line, same as nothing changes. Then you can have either no else if statements or as many as you want of else if statements, and each one has another Boolean expression. And then finally, you can have an else statement or not. So lots of flexibility. The else statement does not have a condition. You don't say else x equals 7 or something. The else is the catch-all. It's like, hey, if nothing else worked, you can do this. And it's optional. So here's an example. Let's take a look. I said int temperature, and then I said it's a valid number because I want us to not know what it is. And we're looking at this code. If temp is greater than 90, we say it's hot. Else if temp greater than 80, it's getting hot. Else if temp greater than 70, it's pretty comfortable. Else it's not hot at all. So only one of those four things will trigger in this case. You might think if it was 100 degrees that it would trigger the first three, but it's not. Only one will ever trigger. So you know that. The first one it runs into that's true will trigger. So let's say temp was 100, it would hit the first one and it wouldn't even look at the other ones. And even if temp was 81, it'll not do the first one, but it will trigger the second one and it won't go any further. And again, if temp was 75, you'd get the third one. And if it was 80, you would get the third one. Not the second one, because notice it's greater than 80. Yeah, good point. Now, if you don't have an else at the end, you're not guaranteed that one of them will trigger. So you could get through the code without triggering anything. So tell me this, think for yourself, answer this question. For what temperatures will nothing print? Please don't say it out loud. Everybody look up here and I'll ask for a volunteer, but there's certain temperatures where nothing will print. Volunteer? How much? 80 degrees or below. Yeah. 80 or below, nothing will print. And that's fine, unless you wanted something to print always. Like if you wanted to always make a comment, then you'd need to have an else on here or have other else ifs. But in this case, if it's 80 or below, nothing prints. And as I said, you can use braces or not. Look at this. I've done it 3 different ways. If temp greater than 90, I did braces. Else if temp greater than 80, I did braces like on the same line. See how this brace right here is on the line with the if? It could have all been on one line, but I don't want to encourage anybody to do that. And then this last one is without braces because these were all one line things. This code has a problem. So look at it and tell me what prints if the temperature is 90 degrees. Don't say it out loud. Quincy?
It's hot. I can take off my sweater.
Yeah, I mean, that's a true thing, but that's not what it looks like it's supposed to be saying. It says it's getting hot. Like if the temperature is 90, doesn't trigger the first thing. It triggers this one. It's getting hot. And then it says also I can take off my sweater. You know, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing to say, but this is structured that you're thinking that would only happen if it was not, if it was less than 80 or less. And what's up is that bottom, those 2 indented lines, just because we indented them doesn't mean they have anything to do with each other. Only the line above the yellow line is in the if statement. This last line will always run no matter what. So if the temperature was 20 degrees, it could say, I could take off my sweater. In fact, that's all it would say. No, it would say it's pretty comfortable. I can take off my sweater. Anyway, the last line always prints because it's not part of the if-else structure. The fact that it's indented doesn't have anything to do with it. So if I wanted it to be all in one, I would have had to put it in curly braces. Like you can barely see here, the bottom curly brace is not shown. This code has been updated. I added an else. So if temp greater than 90, it's hot. If it's greater than 80, it's getting hot. If it's less than 75, put on a sweater. And otherwise, say it's pretty comfortable. So the else is kind of a catch-all. It'll take any other thing. You know, one of these things is going to trigger no matter what, because there's an else. Let's practice. Boy, I got